time ago, I was sitting in my office in North Alabama. I was a child welfare worker. Back in those days, I was doing adoptions and foster care and doing abuse investigations, things like that. And I'm sitting there one day just minding my own business, and the boss of the organization, Marilyn George, appeared at my door. And she kind of leaned against the door frame and said, "Naomi, I've decided you're going to be the new child welfare supervisor." And I remember thinking, what does that mean? I didn't ask for that job. I mean, I'd never made any indication that I was interested in it. I mean, it never had occurred to me that I would become responsible for other people's work, performance, and outcomes. And I said, "Are you sure?" And she said, "Of course I'm sure." And then this is the best line. She said, "Come on up here to my office and I'll tell you how to do it." And it's one of those staff development experiences that, in retrospect, you can hardly believe happened to you. So I trailed along behind her up to her office and sat down, and she said, "Now, Naomi, I've got two things to tell you. Now, just listen to me. The first thing is this, that deep down in your heart, you think you can do every job in this agency better than anybody else. Now, don't argue with me. I know you feel that way. But that's not going to matter tomorrow. Because tomorrow, when you move into this new job, that won't be necessary anymore. It won't even be important anymore. Because your job is going to be to get everybody else to do their job. And that requires a whole different set of skills and attitude." And I sat there and thought, I'm in shock. But this second part just still cracks me up. I don't know if it's in the material, but I'm an old English teacher. And things like parts of speech and punctuation and all that kind of stuff really intrigue me. They're important to me. But anyway, she said, "Now the second thing I want to tell you is this. You are the only person in this whole agency, I mean everybody here, you're the only person who understands the semicolon. Nobody else here understands it. Nobody else here cares about it. The clients don't care about semicolons. Nobody else thinks it's important. And if you when you go into this job, you have got to give up the semicolon. You got to let it go. It doesn't matter anymore. Don't be going around with a red pencil, checking off if they've used it right or made a comma splice. Let that go." And I remember walking back to my office and thinking what those two things really meant. And in her judgment, in her wisdom, in her length of service and experience, she had really honed in on two principles involved in leadership and supervision that would begin to shape my attitudes. The first being that there is a discrete set of skills involved in leadership and supervision. And these skills are different than being a line worker. And the second thing I thought she was saying about the semicolon is this, that in leadership we are building common knowledge. And we are not depending on what we know that other people don't know. But we're building this sense of togetherness and common understanding and work. So out of that began to shape this feeling I had about moving into this job. And I remember she gave me a new office, and I walked in there and I sat down behind that desk, and I thought, it was an out-of-body experience. Because all of a sudden I'm in a job that I really know nothing about. I mean, I'm not prepared for that. I do remember pulling open the drawer of the desk, and way in the back was a little piece of yellow paper that the previous supervisor had left. And I knew him. And I pulled that paper out, and there were two things on there. It said, "Dear Naomi, by the time you get this note, I'll be gone. But I have two things." He actually said it this way. He said, "I am leaving because I have so many skeletons in the closet, I don't have any more room." And he said, but I do have one piece of advice for you. Never, never, never call the state office, because the answer will be no. And with that, this whole thing of my moving into this job began. And over the next 30 years of supervising, managing, directing, being in a position of leadership, I began to find my way. I began to think about the qualities and behaviors and things that I believe make a good supervisor, because somehow we have missed the ability to impart those things when people move into those positions.